Good afternoon and welcome to this edition of the People Progressing podcast. And I have a newly appointed friend of mine, Carolyn Strauss, who is an amazing person. We had lunch together the other day and I was blown away. And Carolyn, I thank you for coming on. I know your time is limited and to do this is greatly appreciated. I just want to go over first, like where you're from, some of your background, like where you grew up, what you like to do as a kid, and then we can kind of go from there.
When you say my time is limited, it sounds like I'm dying. I'm not. I'm just busy. So let's start with that. Okay.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant.
And second, I'm fascinating when you're buying lunch. So you buy lunch and I'll be fascinating. That's how it works.
I'll do it anytime.
Thanks. So originally, born in Salem, Massachusetts. So I'm a witch, grew up in the same little town, went to high school with the same people I went to elementary school with, a whole mess of them. So I've had friends since I was before school ages, and they're still my friends. So I feel like having that kind of background, having a circle around me. I call it a sphere of influence around me that's been around me forever. And I just keep expanding it with more interesting and smart people. I mean, I always say that you can only get better at tennis if you play with people who are better than you. You can only get better at business if you do business with people who are better than you. So that's why I want to be here and play with you, because you're better than me in a whole lot of areas, Coach.
No, I was going to say the same about you. And you went to college back in Massachusetts. What college did you go to? And what did you study there?
I started at the University of Massachusetts, went to the University of Madrid, and finished at Emerson College. Oh, wow. I studied acting. I studied Spanish. I studied acting. So I was a theater major. And so being on stage, I mean, Joe and I know each other from the speaking world. He's a professional speaker. I'm a professional speaker. I've done a lot of speaking with CEO groups like Vistage. And so being on stage is my happy place. I have a t-shirt that says, your biggest fear is how I make a living.
I like
because
that.
Most people's biggest fear is public speaking, and for me, that's my happy place.
Yeah, you're so good at it. You've been an actress. You've started your own clothing company. I guess where I want to go with this is this, Carolyn. What is that gives you the confidence to do all those different things and go for it? And there's a lot of people out there. We call this the People Progressing podcast. And there's a lot of people out there who probably wish they could go do something or want to go do something, but they just don't know if they should try it or not. You're one not to fret about that stuff. You just kind of jump in and you get after it. What is giving you that confidence in yourself to do that?
Life is short. I only get one journey through this planet that I can remember. Right? I mean, there may be many before now, and there may be many after now, but the only one I can remember is this one, clearly. So I want to make the most of this. I don't believe in wasting anything. So I'm a huge recycler. I believe I don't think anything should be wasted, and time is our most precious asset. And the other thing is that if you really listen to yourself and your higher self, it won't put a desire in you that doesn't give you the means to actually achieve it. So I think that all of these people who have ideas and don't act on them, that's the universe going, okay, well, I thought you were the person to act on this idea. Maybe you're not. I'm going to find somebody else. And then the universe, it's sort of like, have you ever had an idea for a product? And then a year later, you see that product on the shelf and you're like, I had that idea. Of course you did, because the universe puts that idea into the collective consciousness, and it's yours to grab if you choose to. Yeah. And my thing has always been, I want to grab them. I want to have as many experiences as I can. My grandmother, who was my heart, my dad's mom, said to me a long time ago, she said, honey, it's your memories that will keep you warm when you get old.
Wow.
So make as many as you can.
And I'm sure that not everything has gone perfectly for you. I'm sure there's been hurdles and obstacles.
Okay, Joe, I'm single. So a lot of things haven't gone perfectly for me. Let's just start there. Okay. Right.
Well, how do you overcome that? How do you overcome some of those obstacles you've come across? I'm sure you've tried out for acting parts and maybe didn't get them, or tried other businesses and didn't get them. What
Thousands
keeps
of
you
both.
going through that? What keeps you going through that?
There's a phrase that goes in my head that goes, experience is what you get when you don't get what you want. It was a good experience.
Right.
So everything was an experience. So if it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, or I thought it would, then it was a good experience. I do have to tell you something, though. A lot of times we're getting what it is that we have actually put out the request to the universe for us to get, and we don't even know we have it. So let me tell you a quick story. So I had a show on the home. I had the third largest clothing company on the Home Shopping Network. And I was there for 18 years, and about 5 years in, and I had always been an actress, and I'd wanted to have a talk show, and I was funny and all of that good stuff. And I had always wanted a TV show. Well, I'd been doing home shopping for about 3 years, and my dad, who was my hero, and we were really, really close, he actually sent me 2 pages out of the TV guide. Remember when they used to print TV guides, and my dad got the TV guide.
Yeah.
And on that page for 2 hours on HSN in the little boxes, it said Carolyn Strauss collection. And he said, sweetie, you always wanted your own television show. Well, guess what? You have it.
Yeah.
And I didn't even realize that I had manifested and created exactly what I wanted, but it didn't look the way I thought it would look. So it didn't occur to me that I had actually created it until he pointed it out to me.
So let's go back to your dad. That kind of gets me back to this confidence piece. It sounds like he was very instrumental in your life. What are some of the lessons that he taught you that you carried into starting your own clothing company, being an actress, writing 5 books? I could go on and on. What was some of those things that he ingrained in you that kind of helped you springboard into this?
It's funny. It sounds like I kind of was born with a silver spoon and all this. I lived on a couch in a living room in New York City, my first 3 years in New York City.
Yeah.
I moved to New York a week after I graduated from college, and I moved to New York to become a famous actress. That clearly didn't happen because nobody knows who I am, which is a good thing, because I do not want to come out of the gym and have paparazzi. That is not going to be pretty. So I'm very happy to not be that famous, right? But so I lived on a couch for 3 years, and I ate ramen noodles and fruit from the little Korean market that was right on the corner. I mean, it's not like, and I took subways at 2 a.m, which he always yelled at me about, instead of taxi cabs. And I bought my shoes at Payless instead of at Manolo, so that I could have and build the life that I wanted. And a bunch of lessons that my dad taught me. One is, and at the time he said, well, there are 5 billion people on the planet. So if you're with a group of people who don't, there are plenty more where that came from. Mm-hmm. And so there will always be people around you who support you and don't. My favorite affirmation goes, I am only surrounded by people who want what's best for me, and I for them. It's both ways.
Oh, yeah.
So I want everybody who's listening to look around your life, and are you surrounded by people that truly want what's best for you? Right. I mean, look, everybody's a little, we're human. So I would say that there's a little jealousy. Like when I see a friend of mine get like a $25,000 keynote in front of 1,000 people in an audience, and I see it on Facebook, there is a little teeny piece of me, I'll admit it, that goes, why did they get that and not me? And there's a little bit of envy. There's not jealousy, a little bit of envy. But then at the same time, there's like 99. So that's like 1% of me, and 99% of me is really happy for them. So we have to understand that there are all of these voices in our heads and in ourselves, that we choose which one to listen to, and we choose which one to act on. So Joe, you know that I'm a certified voice dialogue facilitator.
Yeah.
I studied voice dialogue. I've studied it for more than 12 years, and I'm a certified, meaning what voice dialogue does is it mitigates the conflict in your own head. And let me explain it. Like everybody's got different voices in their head. I'll make it really easy. I have one voice in my head that has always wanted me to be 10 pounds thinner. And I have another voice in my head that loves, adores, and seeks out chocolate chip cookies. How do you mitigate the conflict between those two voices? Well, what voice dialogue does is it allows you to cultivate, let's say, your higher self or your conductor or your internal CEO to go, okay, I hear you, voice that wants Carolyn to be 10 pounds thinner, and she went to hot yoga this morning, and she'll have an apple tonight instead of cookies. And okay, voice that wants cookies. On Saturday, when you go to your friend's house, there will be cookies. You can have some then. And everybody calms down, right? And these are the voices in your head. And then it's taking that kind of facilitation of conflict resolution and bringing it out into the world, which is what I do in my speaking, because I'm an expert in peopling. It's like people skills, right? Yeah. How do you communicate with the people that you work with, the people you do business with, the people you're on a team with? It's fun.
What's the first thing in communication? When you think about communication, what's the very first thing we should think about?
Know who you are when you show up. Yeah. Who are you when you're showing up? And who are you that they are? I always say this to new speakers. So there are speakers coming into the profession all the time. And the question is, so who are you and what do you provide? How do you serve, right? It's not, oh, you're this famous entertainer. Maybe what you serve is entertainment. That's great. But knowing that, and then who are you that your audience is? Are they idiots? Are they smarter than you? Are they dangerous? Are they loving? I mean, who are you that they are? And once you can approach your audience with, oh, I know I'm here to help them because they're already brilliant at what they do, but they don't know what I do. Right. They don't know what I know. They don't know how to present themselves in a way that can actually get a result that they didn't get before. I can help them with that.
Wow. That's I'm going to go back to your thought processes. I heard this the other day. I've heard two different things. I've heard we have like 6,000 thoughts a day, but then I've heard we also have up to 80,000 thoughts a day. I don't know which one it is. They kind of combine. What they did is they said that the people who said 6,000 said those 80,000 are combined into sections of thoughts. But they said that like 80 to 90% of the thoughts that we have a day are negative. Mm-hmm. So when you're talking about combating that, when all those negative thoughts are coming at us all the time, what's the best way to combat that? It's just coming up with something a saying that maybe you can say to yourself or something to that effect. How would you do that?
That works. I mean, a saying that you can say to yourself, like I have an affirmation that I do all the time when I'm on the bike, when I'm at the gym, when I'm breathing through ab exercises. And it's, I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm peaceful, I'm grateful, I'm loved, I'm supported, I'm guided, I'm funny. I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm peaceful, I'm grateful, I'm loved, I'm supported, I'm guided, I'm funny. If I'm doing that while I'm on the treadmill or while I'm on a bike or while I'm in a body pump class and I'm doing abs, if I'm saying that to myself out loud to myself in my head, and sometimes I even whisper it out loud so I can hear myself because I'm in a room with other people, there's no room for negative thoughts. Okay. I mean, I could look in the mirror at the gym and see the fact that I am a size 16, I'm an extra large, I have, I'm a big girl and I'm incredibly healthy, right? So I could look at the fact that I'm not skinny like the other girls in the room, the other women in the room, and go, oh, no, I'm not thin like them. But if I've got that affirmation and those words happening in my head, there's no space for the negative thoughts, right? There's also physiological stuff you can do. If you look up, so I used to do a piece in one of the workshops that I did in one of the keynotes, and I'd have everybody look up and take a really deep breath and smile. And keep smiling. And I tell them, be sad. Be sad. I'm like, no, keep smiling. Keep smiling. You can't be sad if your face is telling your body that you're happy.
There you go.
So, I mean, I did that. I haven't thought about that in like 25 years, Joe. I've been in this speaking, info edutainment, I call it, where I am in the info edutainment business.
And you're unbelievable at it. I heard somebody say this one time, to count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So like a negative thought starts coming in and starts taking over 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 takes you out of your thought process like that. I don't know
I
if
like that.
I haven't, I'm going to keep trying it, but it's because I think we all deal with that, don't we, Carolyn? That we're all
For
have that. I call it the little man on the shoulder,
right.
always poking at you, always trying to tell you you can't, always trying to give you imposter syndrome, always trying to do that. And how do I flick him off of there? How do I get him out of my mind? Boom.
What I do is first of all, when the little human on the person on my shoulder says something, and I'll say, is that true? Just stop and say, is that true?
Yeah.
Because it's probably not true,
Not. Yeah.
right? Is that true? Three little words.
Yeah.
Is that true?
And
And
what you said is really true, that it's not true.
right. And it's probably not true. So it's like, okay, thank you for sharing. That's not true. Next. It's
Yeah.
like dating. Dating's like
Yeah.
shoe shopping, right? You try on the one, you try them on, and if they don't fit, you say next, and you finally find a pair that looks good and is comfortable, and you want to keep them forever.
Yeah.
I'm still shopping.
Now, now I got to go over this too. I want to go over you mentioned your clothing company.
Yeah.
This is amazing to me. You sold over $160 million over an 18-year period.
Mhm.
What was that like? What was that feeling like to have that kind of success? Was it? So I know it wasn't always easy,
It was not always
but
easy.
what did you attribute that success to?
Oh, I can tell you exactly what I can attribute that to. We were really clear what we did, who we did it for, and why they cared.
Okay.
So for business people who are listening to your podcast, as they should be, you ask yourself, what do you do? Who do you do it for? And why do they care? Those are the three questions. So we did not make pull-on polyester clothing for women. That is not what we did. What we did, and everybody in my company knew this, and I must have said it on air 100 times. We made easy wear, easy care clothing for busy women so that after they got dressed, they didn't have to think about themselves for the rest of the day.
Oh wow.
So, what do you do? Who do you do it for?
Mhm.
And why do they care? So,
Mhm.
let me ask you this, Joe. Let me put you on the spot for
Okay.
your podcast. Okay. So, as a professional speaker, what do you do? Who do you do it for? And why do they care?
Okay. So what
We
do
did
I
not
do?
rehearse this, by the way.
No, we didn't. So what I do is I try to
No,
inspire.
you don't try to do anything. What do you
Oh,
do?
I do. I
Mhm.
inspire people to motivate themselves to get going and have no regrets in their life.
Great. Who do you do it for?
Everybody. I know that's
Okay.
not a good target market. I know,
Okay.
but to me, it's for everybody who
I
needs
want
it.
to invite you to consider that you do it for executive and executive teams.
Yeah,
Executives and executive teams,
yeah,
because you're a coach, and every good player and every good coach needs a coach.
right,
Right? We
right,
all need coaching.
right.
Oh my God, I've got two masterminds and a coach and a voice dialogue facilitator. I have a support system around me that helps keep me sane. So, for you, so you worked, what do you do is you work with people who to motivate themselves to take action and be great. You do it for executives and executive teams. And why do they care? What do they get from it?
What I try
So
to
that
what they get out of it is to stay in their purpose of why
nice.
they have their business. I want them to stay in everyone starts a business for a reason. There's a purpose there that serves other people. And I think so many times I call it the noise. The noise of everything comes at them so much that they get outside their purpose. And then that's when all hell breaks loose. So I do it because I want people to stay in their purpose so that they can have a passion for what they do so that they don't have any regrets later on in life.
I love that.
That's really what I do. And it's
Well,
important for me that people don't have regret.
I think that's why you and I connected so well, and you invited me on your show. And thank you for that, because I don't have any regrets.
Yeah, I know you don't.
I don't.
Yeah, and I picked up
Um,
on that the other day when
well,
we met.
actually, that's not true. Actually, that's not true. There is a little piece of me that every once in a while goes, damn it, I forgot to have children. Like I forgot. Like it just never occurred to me that I should.
Yeah,
And I mean, society told me that I should, but I
right.
didn't. So every once in a while, I don't think it's a regret. I haven't really thought about this. I don't think it's a regret, but it's a, huh, that would have been interesting.
Yeah,
And of course, life would have been completely different, but that's interesting.
yeah. It's well, you've done so much. You've been an actress on TV shows and movies. You've owned your own clothing company for 18 years. You've I saw this one.
I spoke in Australia.
You judged the Miss America contest.
I did. Hey, I got a check signed by the Trump organization.
How
How
cool is
about
that?
that? It was 100 years ago, but yes, I did. So,
I
yes.
you do so many things and you just go for it in life and you don't let things that maybe didn't turn out to you for you the way you wanted or whatever to be a regret. You
Oh,
look at
God, no.
you look at all those things as opportunities to keep growing and keep trying new things. And I think that's what I want. Another thing I want people to get out of this from you is that attitude of I'm going to make mistakes, I'm going to fail. I don't care what people think. I just want to do the best I can in whatever I do.
Well, also play with people who are better than you. We're going to come back to that. Like
Yeah,
I have a podcast. It's called Another Day Above Ground. I've
it's
been doing it with
awesome.
my two. Thank you. It's fun, isn't it fun?
Yeah, it's fun.
Did
It's a
you
lot
listen
of
to
fun.
the New Year's one with Baby New Year and Father
I
Time
did, and I listened to the Christmas one before that with Santa Claus.
with Santa Claus? Yeah. I mean, we get the best guests. We get the
Yeah,
funnest
yeah,
guests. Um but I've been doing it it'll be 4 years in April that we've had this podcast. Thank God we had it during COVID because every Monday afternoon I was required to be on top of it and funny, right? I had to
yeah,
stay smart and aware and awake and funny because COVID was not good for me because I'm completely externally motivated. I went back to the gym the day it reopened and there was plastic in between the machines
yeah,
hanging and there were only 10 people allowed in a class and I would sign up for the class like as I would leave one class sign up for the next one because I have a whole gym in my house. I don't use it very much because I'm totally externally motivated. But being externally motivated and talking about Another Day Above Ground, my podcast, the two gentlemen that I co-host with, it's the podcast for, by, and about baby boomers. It's the podcast for people who can't download a podcast. It's funny and we're funny. And I am like the female voice of reason,
yeah,
but the boys make me funnier, the men. They make me funnier. And by the way, I'm completely politically incorrect. I'm going to call them boys. It just, I'm a girl. It is what it is. And I'm
yeah,
just going
yeah,
to call it that. And if you identify as them, then I hope them has a really nice day.
yeah,
And that's great. Right. So, but I think it's about playing with people and surrounding yourself with people who are just better than you. And then bring what you're great at to the table. Find out what do you love to do? What are you great at? And how you can serve the communities that you play in. And stay with the ones who love and appreciate you and say thank you, bye-bye to the ones who don't.
yeah,
That's the thing. A lot of people are afraid of losing something, but it's worth huh, dad wisdom. Okay.
yeah,
No deal is better than a bad deal.
yeah,
My dad taught me that a
yeah,
100 years
yeah.
ago when I was a kid. No deal is better than a bad deal.
Well, another thing that intrigues me is you just said surround yourself with people that are better than you.
Yep.
And the thing I think a lot of people get into with that is they get intimidated by those people
Why?
because they think they're better than them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm intimidated by them. So
Mm.
I don't know if I belong with them.
Okay, more dad wisdom. Dad always said there will always be somebody smarter, taller, shorter, thinner, fatter,
Mhm.
luckier, less lucky, happier, sadder, richer. There will always be somebody more than you. So hang out with them if they make you happy and don't if they don't.
Yeah. And don't and
Don't
believe.
compare. Comparison is the enemy to joy. You've all
Yes.
heard that, right?
Yeah, takes the joy out of life.
Comparison is the enemy of joy. So I think if you're intimidated by people, it's because you're comparing. And there's nothing to compare to. We're all snowflakes of our own making. Oh my God. That was so gross. I just threw up a little in
you're
my own
good.
mouth.
You're
Sorry.
good. Real quick, I want to touch on this. Your 5 books. Can you tell us maybe a little bit about them, what they're called, how to get them, so people can get them?
You can't get them. You can probably get them on eBay somewhere. So the first book I wrote before I was 25 years old, it was called Specialty Modeling. And it was a book on how to be a plus size, petite, hand, shoe, or character model. I co-authored it with an incredible woman named Tori Hartman. She was a petite model and a hand model, and I did character modeling and plus size modeling. And we wrote it, and it was published before I was 25, and it was published by Dutton Books, and it was the #1 trade bestseller paperback in I'm not telling you what year. It was a great book. and then we did all the talk shows and appeared on all the shows to promote the modeling business. Because, awesome. I was a plus size model. I was with the Ford Modeling Agency for 20 something years. And then I wrote a book it was one of those compilation books called A Healthier You with Deepak Chopra and Billy Blanks. And then I wrote a children's book called E.G., They Talk and Talk. And then I wrote my most recent book is called The Code, A Man's Rules for Living Life, Having Fun, and Getting Dressed. And I co-authored it with my friend Jack Dale, because he was writing a book for a friend's sons. They all went camping. And he wrote a book about the rules for being a man. And Jack and I are friends. And he read it to me. And I said, wait a minute, if men are this way, the women around them are going to have a reaction. Do we want to put a little piece about how women will react to men who act that way? Because I've studied the differences between men and women for 20 years. There's a woman named Allison Armstrong. I highly recommend you guys checking her out. Go to AllisonArmstrong.com. She's amazing. And she has been studying the differences between men and women forever. And she's my mentor in that. That's the other thing. Wow. Find a good mentor. And we wrote The Code. And then we wrote The Code Revisited. We wrote a workbook around it. And I never really spoke about it, but I added the difference between men and women into my programs for many years. And now it's politically incorrect to say that men and women are different. So I don't talk about that anymore, because I had some millennials in an audience that I was in once. And I started talking about how men process information and women process differently, and how men come at projects different than women. And it's fact, and it's science-based.
Oh, yeah.
And I got blasted by the millennials in the audience and the meeting planner for, being so politically incorrect. And I said, okay, well, you know what? I know this is true. Yeah, and in my experience, it's true. And I won't talk about this anymore. So I don't.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's really interesting. I know we're almost out of time. I can't believe this has gone so fast. I wrote a book called The 3 Ps, Finding Your Purpose, Perspective, and Passion. So I ask all my guests on my podcast these 3 questions. What is your purpose in life?
To have as much fun as I possibly can, so that everybody around me is having as much fun as they possibly can too.
Wow. I skip over perspective. I'll tell you why. What's your passion in life?
Chocolate and health.
Chocolate.
Being healthy. Chocolate and health. Look, a good day contains chocolate. I'm sorry, it just does.
I have to admit, me too.
Chocolate is my evidence procedure that there is a God, because there has to be, in order for there to be chocolate. And health, because if you don't have your health, you don't have anything.
And if you don't have health, you can't make other people happy.
That's right.
Right. So I always say that purpose equals passion, and passion equals purpose. What holds it together, the glue that holds it together, is your perspective. What's your general perspective on life?
Don't waste it.
Wow.
When an opportunity, say yes until it's no. That's my perspective on life. Say yes until it's no. When an opportunity presents itself or something presents itself, just say yes, and then say yes again, and then say yes again, until it becomes no. And then when it doesn't fit and it's not right for you, then you can say no.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
This has been a really fast time here. I could maybe we'll have to do second edition of this.
It's funny. So I've actually been on other people's business podcasts before, and they're like, "Can we do a part 2?" I'm like, "Absolutely, let's do a part 2 in 6 months. Let's check in, and we'll do a part 2 in 6 months."
I do. Can I ask one more question? You have time for one more?
Of course.
You're an accomplished Vistage chair.
No.
Everyone knows. I mean, not a chair. Speaker. I'm sorry. Speaker.
I am not a Vistage chair.
Speaker.
I could not keep myself together to do that. That takes a totally. Yes, I am a successful Vistage speaker. Thank you.
Why do you like speaking to Vistage groups?
Because I want to play with people who can have an effect on the people around them. And I love CEOs because they have so much effect on their sphere of influence that if I can shift one thing to have them be happier or funnier or healthier or more better at peopling, then they affect more people than I can.
Wow. You're amazing. How can people get a hold of you to help have you come speak, or maybe buy your book, or
buy me lunch?
Buy you lunch, which
I'm going to do. Chocolate,
which I'm going to do again.
How
can they get a hold of you? I know you have a website, so how do they get?
CarolynStrauss.com, CarolynStrauss.com. And you can hear my podcast at anotherdayaboveground.com. And if you look up Carolyn Strauss on the internet, you're going to find the executive producer at HBO who greenlighted Game of Thrones and all of those incredible shows. So tell her I say hi, but that's not me. I'm the Carolyn Strauss who is the speaker and consultant and the one who just wants everybody. I always said I want everybody around me to be rich and happy so we can all go rent a house together in Tuscany. That's my plan.
There you go.
There you go.
Oh, man, I love it. So, hey, thank you so much, Carolyn, for coming on. This has been a whirlwind for you and I for the last week. We had lunch. Now we're doing this. And, man, I feel blessed to have you as a part of my life now and use you. You're my mentor. You're one of my mentors.
Aww.
I will say that for sure. That took one lunch meeting for me to realize how much I can tap into you for your knowledge, your strength, and your outlook. Your outlook is what really gets me the most. You told me the other day, you do a speech, and if people don't like it, they don't like it. I move on and do the next one. And,
I'm not responsible for their reaction.
Right. And man, that hit me like a ton of bricks. And I appreciate that. And I appreciate you. So thank you for coming on. Please get on Carolyn's website, have her come speak to your groups, listen to her podcast, read her books. She's an amazing person. Again, thank you for listening to the People Progressing podcast. Have a great week and keep progressing.